I wanted to tell you about one of the most unnerving and confusing experiences of my life. I've been a bit hesitant to share this story with anyone because I know that it makes me sound like I'm crazy, or like I've had a medical episode. But I want to say that, to the best of my and my doctor's knowledge, I am perfectly healthy, and my brain works in a way that can be described as mostly normal. It actually happened in the summer, last year, 2022, and I can remember the whole thing like it happened yesterday. My family had gotten together for a cookout at my grandmother's house, since we hadn't been able to really do so for the entirety of the previous 2 years. What was supposed to be a fun night with family and some of my uncle's barbecue ended up being a creepy experience that has haunted me ever since. My grandmother's house was a stereotypical, cozy grandma house. It was on the edge of town, so it wasn't in a heavily populated section of our state, but it wasn't necessarily in the middle of nowhere. It was big enough for her to have raised 5 kids several decades ago, and it was the family meetup spot. On that day, the house was full. Everyone had showed up and the night was lively. My uncle had been at his grill all day making all the barbecue he could for everyone, making way too much, as always, but enjoying every minute of it. We were all sitting outside eating our burgers and enjoying the smell of the grill as it slowly burned out. The sun was setting and the yard was covered in a really lovely orange glow that just kind of sprawled out. At one point, I found myself alone outside in the backyard, just reclining in a lawn chair and enjoying the calmness of the moment. I don't recall why I ended up alone. I think maybe some of my cousins were heading out, and everyone went inside to say goodbye or something. But I was just sitting there in the chair, watching the sunset and sipping on my cream soda. I remember that I suddenly started feeling like I was going to get violently ill. 1 second, I was perfectly fine and content, and then I felt this sharp pain in my stomach, and got hit with that stomach rush that you get right before you throw up. I sat up and leaned forward just in case I did end up getting sick, but as I did, I could feel my heart racing and my head pounding. The air around me started to feel really heavy. I could feel myself starting to sweat more, and honestly, I thought that I was about to have a massive heart attack. It really felt like I was about to die. It was then that I looked up and noticed that there was a light above me. I looked up slightly and saw what I thought was a flashlight shining on me at first, but it wasn't. It was a light that was in the sky. It was sizable. I'm not sure of how large exactly, but decent in length in all directions. It looked to be triangular with rounded edges, and while I couldn't tell how far away it was, it seemed to be hanging above me. I squinted at it, trying to focus more on it than the weird physical feeling that I was dealing with, but the world around me started feeling like it was spinning. I was struggling to breathe, I was struggling to stay upright, and this surge of panic was rushing through me. I actually tried to call out, to yell for someone to come help, but I couldn't. My voice was getting caught in my throat and the words were dying before they even formed. In that moment, time seemed to stretch and blur, making me feel almost like I was underwater. I know that sounds strange, but the air was so dense and heavy that it felt like I was physically underwater, but mentally detaching from my body. My mind was screaming to move and run, but my body was completely frozen. My eyes were locked on that spectral object hovering above me. It physically felt like I was being stretched, like completely split apart, but not like I was being cut, just being pulled yet staying still. I know that this is confusing, and this is what I mean when I say that it makes me sound crazy, but I can't find words to properly explain what was happening. But then, just as abruptly as this all had started, it was over. Of course, it wasn't just done. No, it had to get even more confusing. I was feeling like I was dying, staring at this light detaching from reality, and then I was standing in the bathroom of my grandma's house, staring at myself in the mirror. I wasn't doing anything. I was just standing there and staring at myself absent-mindedly. Strangely enough, when I fully regained full control and focus of myself, I noticed that the faucet was running. The door was completely locked, and only one of the two sets of lights in the bathroom was on. I just stood there, frozen, trying to piece together what all had just happened. My head was pounding and my heart rate was definitely elevated. I looked around in confusion, with my mind trying to grasp the situation. I had just been outside, alone, staring at that light, and now I was inside the house, a good couple 100 feet away, staring at myself in the bathroom mirror with the sink running. Nothing made any sense there. I stumbled out of the bathroom and back into the main parts of the house. The house was alive with the conversation of various family members, all just chatting and laughing, as if nothing had happened. I tried to act normal for the rest of the night, but my mind kept going back to that light, and that horrible feeling that I had while it was over me. I wanted to tell someone about it, but how could I? It sounded ludicrous. I've actually never told anyone in my family about this whole thing, no matter how much I have wanted to. The only thing I've mentioned to anyone was to one of my cousins, and I just asked her if I seemed a bit out of it or acted strange. She told me that I seemed fine, that she couldn't recall me being weird or anything. Every time I visit my grandma's house now, I can't help but look up in the backyard and half expect that ominous light to come back. I don't know what it was. Some kind of supernatural being? An alien craft? Was I possibly abducted by some entity and then placed back in the bathroom like that? Maybe. I really don't know. I will just say that nothing else has been different that I can notice, beyond me just thinking about the whole thing, so I don't think that it changed me if it was something supernatural or paranormal. Maybe I'll get answers someday. I really don't know, but I'm not going to hold my breath.